Cell phone records obtained by police showed that after an intense argument with his girlfriend, Daniel Deerere drove west from Colorado Springs into the mountains. Evidence found in Daniel's vehicle led investigators to conclude that in some capacity, Daniel's girlfriend, Bekime Elshani, probably joined him on this ride, and that it was likely the last time that she rode anywhere with anyone. No one has seen or heard from Bekime since that day. Hers is a heartbreaking tale of conflict and violence, of questions and very few answers. Where is Bekime Elshani? "22-year-old Bekime, also known as Beck or Becky, is described by her friends and family as kind and loving, a quote, beautiful soul. She enjoyed being outdoors, spending time with her friends and family, and loved to laugh. Becky was born into a large Albanian family and was really close with her siblings. She had a lot of them and was one of 10 children in the Elshani family. Becky had been born in New Jersey, but by the time she was a teenager, the family had moved to Colorado Springs. Even as a grown adult living away from her parents, Becky and her family continued to be close, often gathering together to share meals and enjoy each other's company, which is what they were doing late into the night one Friday in late March of 2008. That night, everyone had gathered at her parents' house when things between Becky and her boyfriend Daniel became heated. Her younger sister, Bekime Elshani, told 11 News, quote, "They got into an argument here at my parents' house. He started yelling at her. She kept saying she didn't want to leave. We kept telling her to stay, but Daniel insisted that she left with him. That was the last time I ever saw her." End quote. Becky and Daniel's relationship had been volatile for a while, but it was rare for them to fight in front of her parents. In fact, her parents, Doris and Ajim, were unaware of the extent of domestic violence issues the two had shared. Her father told reporters that he had never seen Daniel treat his daughter with disrespect. Yet, Daniel was scheduled to face the court just days later for harassment charges stemming from an incident that included distributing nude images of Becky from her MySpace account. The on-again, off-again relationship had been incredibly volatile, with allegations of harassment and assault coming from both sides. It had all started 6 years earlier when Becky and Daniel met while working at a local call center. They began dating casually, and at one point, Daniel moved to Detroit, and Becky started seeing someone else. She started seeing Wes Bartle. Eventually, Becky and Wes were married, but their marriage was brief, and when Daniel Deerere moved back to Colorado Springs, he and Becky reunited. At first, things seemed to be going well, and they made the decision to move in together in early 2007. However, their relationship quickly soured. Plagued by jealousy and bitterness, the two fought, often violently. That May, they argued about phone calls Wes had made to Becky, and she was arrested for assault after allegedly punching Daniel in the face. Then, just a few months later, at a party, they argued when Becky felt that Daniel was too intoxicated to drive. She told authorities that when she attempted to retrieve his keys, he retaliated by tasing her with a stun gun repeatedly. Daniel's arrest affidavit stated that she was stunned an estimated 20 times. But despite all this, the violence, the arguments, the cruelty, the couple reconciled by the time that they went to court, and ultimately, both of the charges associated with those fights were dismissed. There was, however, one more incident still outstanding legally. On New Year's Eve, Daniel had been arrested on suspicion of harassment after police said that he had hacked into Becky's MySpace account. He had reportedly posted nude pictures of her there and changed her contact email to his personal account. He had been due in court that Tuesday, just 3 days following the argument at Becky's parents' house. And this was not the only cause of tension in their tumultuous relationship. Several of Becky's family members believed that Daniel felt threatened by Becky's relationship with her ex-husband, and it seemed that night at her parents' home, Becky had stepped out briefly to meet up with Wes, the ex. Becky's father, Bekime Elshani, told Lance Benzel of the Colorado Springs Gazette that he believed that Becky was addicted to prescription-strength painkillers and was trying to obtain more pills. He said that he feared that the meetup may have fueled Daniel's suspicions that Becky was seeing Wes romantically, pushing him to a breaking point. Becky was really close with her family, and when they didn't hear from her at all on Sunday or Monday, her parents called the police and asked them to check on her. Officers went to the apartment that Becky and Daniel shared in Northwest Colorado Springs. It was about 9:30 at night when they arrived, and as they approached, they heard the distinct sound of a gunshot. Upon entering the apartment, police found 25-year-old Daniel Deerere dead from an apparent suicide. There was no sign of Becky. "It's a mystery at this point," said Lieutenant Skip Arms, a Colorado Springs police spokesman. There was no evidence that Becky had left on her own accord. Her purse and passport were left behind. There were also no signs of a struggle in the home, no evidence that Becky had been harmed or injured, and Daniel had left no suicide note. Her family was shocked. In the 6 years that Becky had dated Daniel, they had come to know and love him like a son. His death was hard to take, but when they heard that he had killed himself, they also knew that something horrible had happened to Becky. "We have no hope at this point," Becky's mother Doris told the Gazette. "I feel it in my bones my daughter is dead," her father said through tears. "It's just a matter of time until someone spots her body, and that's it." One of Becky's friends told KRDO that Daniel had threatened Becky in the past, saying that if he couldn't have her, no one would. As police processed the scene, they discovered evidence in Daniel's red Toyota 4Runner. Quote, "While we can't get into specifics, the processing of the vehicle suggests that foul play may be involved," said Lieutenant Arms. They told her parents that they had found blood and that additional testing would be required to determine whether or not it was Becky's. Daniel's cell phone company worked with authorities who learned that he had placed calls from the Woodland Park area on Saturday. Police weren't sure that Becky had even been with Daniel at the time, but since there had been no contact from her since then, it was the best lead they had. Officers circulated photos of Daniel and his Toyota 4Runner, asking the public to come forward if they had seen him that day. Becky's mother said that Daniel had grown up in Woodland Park and knew the area well. Colorado Springs police brought in search dogs, ATVs, and a police helicopter, which surveyed the mountainous terrain without success. The Teller County Sheriff's Office joined the search, sending deputies to remote areas throughout the county looking for tire tracks. Volunteers joined family members searching for Becky, bringing their own four-wheelers and trucks to search several mountainous areas. They focused on campgrounds and places where they knew Becky and Daniel had enjoyed camping, specifically areas west and south of Woodland Park, including Gold Camp Road and Cripple Creek. Becky's ex-husband, Wes Bartle, was quickly ruled out as a suspect in her disappearance, and he too helped in the search. Many relatives, including her sisters from the East Coast, flew in from out of town to help as well. Several dozen tips came in during the first few weeks. Unconfirmed sightings of Daniel's red SUV sent police and the family to search a variety of locations. First Lake George, then Dreamtime Mine, but no evidence of Becky was ever found. Still, Becky's family holds out hope. "There's always hope," said Bekime Elshani. "We need to know what happened. It's the respectful thing to do." It took 9 months for police to confirm that the blood recovered from Daniel's vehicle belonged to Becky. By then, progress in her case had slowed significantly, though tips were still trickling in. Some were sightings of Becky alive, and others were for grave sites, though none had panned out. The holidays were particularly hard for her family, with Becky's birthday just 2 days after Christmas. They celebrated with a large cake and remembered the good times they had with Becky. At the anniversary of her disappearance, they gathered to celebrate her life and to search again for Becky for evidence of her whereabouts. They have continued to do this on the anniversary each year as the years passed. Becky's father, Ajim, told KRDO in 2015, "We think about her all the time and every day. We would like to have closure. We would like to have a grave for her, to bring flowers for her." Life without Becky has been difficult for everyone in her family, and it is especially hard when a body is found. In early November of 2010, investigators found a partial human skeleton south of Cripple Creek, an area that they searched early on. Investigators told Becky's sister Bekime Elshani that the skeleton had been sawed into pieces. But a comparison of dental records determined that it was not Becky. In 2017, a police spokesman said that they do believe that Becky was murdered. But without any information to verify that, her case remains open. Other than the approximate location, police have never shared with the public much about those calls that Daniel made in the hours after his and Becky's fight. We don't know who it was that Daniel called or for how long they spoke. Investigators do believe that if Daniel had been involved in Becky's disappearance, that he probably confessed to someone in the days before his suicide. But sadly, no one has ever come forward. The Elshani family offered a $5,000 reward for anyone who provided information on their daughter's case. It's more recently been increased to $25,000. It makes me wonder if Daniel really did tell someone, and if so, why they wouldn't want to give Becky's family the peace of knowing where she is. Becky's sister Fatima told the media, "If anyone knows anything, I wish they'd come forward, 'cause if this happened to them, I'm sure they'd want the same." At the time of her disappearance, Becky Elshani was 5 foot 5 inches tall, approximately 115 pounds, with blonde hair and blue eyes. She was last seen wearing blue jeans, a pink and white shirt, and a black jacket. She had a fairy tattoo on her lower back, and her family deserves answers. Anyone with information is asked to call the Colorado Springs Police Department.